Welcome to The Real Recipe, the podcast that brings you the perfect blend of real estate trends and topics, where we serve up fresh insights and sizzling strategies. So let's get cooking. All right, so we are back for... we're not. No, we're not
Yes.
back. No, we're here.
It's here. We're here.
Mentally, maybe.
Yeah.
Physically,
It's Friday,
yes.
so
It's Friday.
a little bit.
We're gonna talk about some fun topics. Mm-hmm. No, maybe not.
Maybe not.
I don't know. Who knows? We'll see how this
yeah,
goes.
we'll see. We'll see what happens.
So I found an interesting article the other day that I thought would be a great topic to talk about, and it's consumers, homeowners around the country are starting to feel trapped in their homes,
Right.
And Redfin recently did an analysis of the market, and it revealed that 92% of homeowners with mortgages have rates significantly lower than where rates currently are today. Mm-hmm. And just for a benchmark, we're easily over 7% today
Yes.
on a 30-year fixed mortgage.
Yeah.
If you're trying to do just a regular conventional Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac type of mortgage, some of the portfolio stuff that this guy has is still below 7, but it's going up soon too. So, but
Don't get too optimistic.
yeah, right. Yeah. Maybe it may have a 7 in front of it anyway. But it's interesting to see how the market has changed over the last 5 to 7 years, mm-hmm. where now the majority of the population, or the majority of homeowners, and in this article, 92%,
Right.
are under 6%, 82% are under 5%, 62% are under 4%, and 24% are under 3%. So what's really interesting about that whole conversation is it has multiple facets to it, meaning that, if you look at certain parts of the country, we have an inventory problem.
Yeah.
And one of the main reasons why we have an inventory problem is because people have interest rates at 4%, and they're not looking to sell. Mm-hmm. And they're not looking to move, because when they call me to get pre-approved for a mortgage and they find out that at 7% and their mortgage payment's doubling.
Where's the driving factor there? Unless you absolutely have to move. And I know obviously a lot of realtors are struggling with having this exact conversation with sellers, because if they don't actually have to move for a reason, what is the driving factor? I know we talked about looking at things from the big picture.
Sure.
People are still getting more, they have more equity in their houses than they have in a long time, just because things are going over asking. We're specifically talking about the New Jersey market right here.
Yep.
And sellers can actually stand to pay off a lot of general consumer debt that they have, even though it means taking a higher interest rate if they're moving to a similar house. But they're getting, again,
good debt versus bad debt.
Good debt versus bad debt. But then they're in the same situation as, the buyers with their house. They're up against an inventory problem. Where are they going to go? I think for myself, even personally, like, we have an interest rate 2.65, I think, right now. And I think we have 15 years left.
Nice.
But
it's actually high for a 15-year.
No, we have 15 years left probably to pay it off. I mean,
right. Just gonna say, did a 15-year mortgage? That's kind of high, right?
I'm like, gosh, do I even want to put more money down towards my mortgage? Should we just sell? And I would love to sell and get something smaller right now. It's not like we have a crazy house, but there's just nothing out there. I mean, just like a creature of habit, I look every day just out of curiosity, and there's
saving all these $1 million homes in your Zillow.
I think the longer I've been in the business, I want less. I want a smaller house. I don't need some crazy fancy car. I just want a better layout of a house. And me, like, I just want property.
I know.
I don't want someone coming to my driveway unless they actually have a reason to be up there.
Well, you know what? I think it speaks volumes of where we are right now. One being that, you're right.
Yeah.
I think people's perspective of where they live have changed, mm-hmm. and what they're willing to accept and not willing to accept.
Yep.
I also feel like a lot of the consumers are being smarter now, right? Like, I can imagine that a younger couple, maybe in their late 20s, maybe they're thinking about having a child.
Right.
They bought their first home, and maybe it was a smaller home. Maybe it was a 2-bedroom townhouse or a 3-bedroom, cape
Right.
or split, and now they're looking at that going, well, now they, it's a couple years later and now they have 2 kids and now they're like, okay, well, this doesn't really work for us space-wise.
Yeah.
And now they're like, well, we don't want to move because I've got 3% on my mortgage.
Yep.
And, if I want to move to a bigger house, now the price has appreciated, 50%, 100% over the last couple of years, and now the mortgage rates have doubled and in some cases tripled.
People are more willing to make, because that was exactly our scenario when we bought our first house. And now, I mean, my husband will tell you, we think all the time, wow, I wish we actually stayed in our first house. It was a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom ranch. And if we had stayed in it, I would definitely not have a mortgage now. And now that house just recently sold again, like our old house, for like $75,000 more than we had originally bought it for. I mean, it was crazy. We bought our house originally for $250,000. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish that we had stayed there and just made it work. And now I think people are actually doing that now, where they would just be so, gung-ho to go buy another place because they're like, oh, we're having a kid, we're totally going to outgrow our place.
Yeah.
The reality is that you can make it work. And I think people are actually finding a way to make it work now because they don't want to let go of that interest rate. They don't want to upgrade to a bigger house. They're just making what they have work because they feel like they're married to that rate and they feel trapped.
I think years ago, the mentality years ago was bigger is better.
Right.
And now it's not so much that bigger is better. It's just smarter, right? People are readjusting their priorities, I think, and are looking at themselves and saying, Diana and I are in that same boat. Like I don't, can I go buy $1.5 million house? Sure, but that is a much bigger payment on a monthly basis. The certainly the business is got a lot more of this, but I could also go travel. I can also go do lots of things that I everybody jokes that I'm always on vacation, but I can afford to go do some of these things,
But good.
Because I have a different lifestyle and I'm willing to take into consideration some of those parts of my life where I can say, okay, you know what? Yeah, I don't have, a 6,000 square foot house or 5,000 square foot house, but, I want to go to London and Paris and go hang out with the kids and go to take them to Disney, okay, let's go do that.
Right. And that varies person to person because I'm of that mindset too. I'd rather have a much smaller house, just a regular car, but be able to take 4 or 5 vacations a year than be house broke. And it's hard because we have obviously transactions now where I think on the last episode we talked about people are so desperately trying to make it work to the fact that like they don't have reserves for when they close. It's and sad. Then, obviously things happen, things break, but then you definitely can't take an extra vacation. And in a lot of cases, people are coming to the table and they're having to pay off consumer debt to get the mortgage they're even getting, which is really tough. And then they're going to move into that house and they're going to jack those credit cards up immediately as soon as they move in. So I think that it's hard to, I guess it depends on what business you work in and what circles you run into to not get caught up in certain things and feel like you need to
keeping up with the Joneses.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think that
was a thing.
It was a thing. I feel like it's teetering off a little bit and I'm glad for it because when I see people like get bigger, flashier things, I'm like, wow, I just want to stay in my regular size house with like a 2.65% interest rate and have a low mortgage.
Yeah. It's just interesting to see that, a lot of people in this country are sitting on really low rate.
Yeah.
They're just sitting on low rate mortgages and they're trapped in their home. And I feel like a lot of the younger generation or younger homeowners feel like they're trapped because they don't want to go pay 7% or 6.5%, 7%, 7.5%. And double up their payment. And, property taxes go up. And what nobody talks about and is a very valid conversation is, you go from a 2,000 square foot house to a 4,000 square foot house. It's not just your mortgage payment going up.
Right.
Electric, gas,
Furniture,
everything.
everything.
Right, everything goes up from there. Lawn care, maintenance. If you got a pool, I mean, everything goes up. It's not
Yeah.
just the mortgage payment, and I think, like you were saying before, I think a lot of people have changed their perspective on what's important to them when it comes to their living situation, where they live, what they're living, the home that they're living in, and what they can and can't, accept in that situation. So it's interesting to see that the article that I'm referencing here was just, going on and explaining that a lot of people around the country do feel trapped. They do want to move. They do want to, go get a bigger house or buy or move to a different area. But, when you've got such a low interest rate, it's really tough for people to financially make that decision and say, okay, my mortgage payment is going to go from $2,000 to $3,000, and that is a huge jump for people. Now, luckily, a lot of people can afford that, but it's a big change, and I think a lot of people they just feel trapped, and it's unfortunate. I wish, the broader conversation here is home ownership, home affordability, and some other things that are probably good topics too. But it was just interesting to see the article, and the way that they spun the article was just people being trapped in their homes, which I think it does exist right now, and
That's a real thing.
It is a real thing.
And I think the article had mentioned too, it was breaking it down based on certain parts of the country too, and it was saying people down south particularly feel like they're trapped with that interest rate, or trapped in their home and they can't,
Yeah, they actually brought up
on.
Ocean City, New Jersey, which I was just like, how did Ocean City, New Jersey
that
get into
that was random.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, the researchers analyzed data from 312 metro areas across home value, historic mortgage rates, housing supply and demand trends to determine the city where most trapped homeowners, or to determine which cities had the most trapped homeowners, and the average mortgage spending had to increase while the housing supply decreased.
Yeah.
So, in the most trapped homeowners were in the southern part of the country. So down in Florida and Georgia, they ranked as number 1 and 2. In the Northeast, they found that Ocean City, New Jersey had the most. The trend here was a tightening grip on supply. In the Northeast, Ocean City, New Jersey is seeing a 31.7% plunge in housing supply.
But I wonder the validity of that one, because I feel like Ocean City is it's
people
primarily vacation homes.
It is, right.
Yeah.
Listen, up here in New Jersey and the Northeast, I mean, it's a problem. It's a huge problem because just listen, I think we are in a wealthier area or in a more affluent area. People can afford their homes, and because they can afford their homes, they have the option to decide whether they want to risk a higher payment or stay put.
Right.
Now, you may not have that. You may not have that same luxury or option in other parts of the country.
Sure.
But I think if in the area here, most households are two income households.
Mm-hmm.
Most people can afford the home that they're living in pretty handily, and it's a luxury to go move up or
Right.
go buy another home. In other parts of the country that I don't think exists the same way that it does here. So.
And a lot of it also has to do with the fact that the past few years, especially during COVID, a lot of people were leaving the city areas and coming out towards the suburbs or coming up by us, and they were selling a very expensive house that they had in those areas, or townhouses or brownstones, coming out to the country, and they were like, well, I can just pretty much sell my house and buy it cash because I get to work remote now. So a lot of companies have changed that aspect of it too.
Yeah.
And people, I know some people personally who have to now go back to doing in-person work, and they're stuck further away from their office.
Oh, the commute is
But
brutal.
now they can't sell, and they don't want to sell and move closer
because they built a life now.
because now they changed and they have a great interest rate out there.
Yeah.
And they overpaid for the house, even though it was less than what they sold their original house for.
I think we're just, today. So today's the end. We're coming to we're in the middle of August. It's the summertime right now. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of inventory just isn't there, just by virtue of the fact that it's the summertime and it's nobody's looking to buy or sell right now. That has also affected the bond market, which has made interest rates significantly higher than where they've been over the last few months.
Mm-hmm.
I think that probably all settles down into September.
Yeah.
Once September hits, kids go back to school. Everybody's ready to, kind
A
of
little
back.
refocused.
Yeah, a little. Right. Okay, I've got my vacation out of the way, or I'm done my thing, and now I'm back to the grind. I think you're going to see rates come back down. I think you will start to see people inventory start to come back on the market again. As people readjust, what they're doing, and I think it's also. I don't know if we talked about this on a prior episode, but it's the seven stages of oh my God, what is it? Seven stages of guilt or
grief.
Grief. That's it. Sorry, grief. Oh my God, I'm having one of those moments today. But you're at the final stage. You're just like acceptance. It's just like it is what it is.
Yeah.
And I think that's where homeowners are today, right? But it's true. Like I think they're at that point where they're just like, whatever it is, it's 7%. I'm just, if I want to buy a house, that's what it's going to cost me now.
Yeah.
And some people are saying that it may go to 8. Yeah. But, if you got to buy a house or you want to buy a house.
You have to accept that too.
Right.
Yeah.
It is what it is. So, I can appreciate that people feel trapped and being trapped in your home because you have such a low interest rate and feeling that way. Yeah. I that's totally a thing. And I totally believe that is affecting the market right now,
Yeah.
not only from an inventory standpoint, but also from a financial standpoint for people, because why would you want to just take on such a significantly larger payment nowadays? Yeah, you may refinance down the road, and the likelihood of that is obviously pretty high at this point.
Right.
But why do that? So I can appreciate that people feel trapped, and if you do feel trapped, you're in a good spot. If you got if you got 2.5% or 3% on your mortgage, you're okay. It may not be the house that you want, but you can make it work and you can survive and you'll be okay, and so it's just, we do have the broader conversation here is just affordability and just really the lack of housing. I mean, there's just nothing. I mean, there's nothing around. That's the problem.
I know.
Here in Morristown, where I live, these townhouse communities have sprouted up like weeds.
Yeah.
All over the place, and they sell out. It is crazy to me. It's a townhouse, but they sell out, and some of them are going for over $1 million. And it's like, this is a townhouse. It's like a 3-bedroom townhouse. That's a nice townhouse.
It's so hard to wrap my brain around that because of where I have lived the majority of my life, not having neighbors really like right next to me, and having acreage. And my taxes being so much lower.
So you grew up the same way I grew up.
And letting my dogs out and not even thinking about it, that if I had to pay, I just see some of these houses that we do closings on, and I'm like, this house is half the size of mine, and it's on a postage stamp.
Right.
And their taxes are twice mine.
Right.
And it's $1 million.
Right.
Like, I don't know.
And then, now think about it like in this way too. Think about that same situation going on over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
People bought that house. It's $1 million. They want more space, but they're stuck now because all right, maybe they can sell their house and make money, but they're stuck in that house because if they go buy a bigger house, let's say they move from Morristown to maybe Florham Park or wherever, right, or Westfield, that same house is $1.8 million, and your taxes are now $30,000, and guess what? Your mortgage payment went from $5,000 a month to $9,000 a month, and now you're like, that's a huge jump. I don't care how listen, unless you're making ungodly amounts of money.
Yeah,
that's still a painful conversation to have because it's a huge number on a monthly basis. So.
Well, if anyone wants a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom colonial with 3 acres, I'm ready to sell it and go live in a van down by the river because I'm gonna get a lot of money if I sell my house right now.
You know what? You're right. You probably would.
Yeah,
probably would. So
I
don't know. Like I said, I just feel like, I do see why people would feel that they're trapped right now. But it's going to change because we're more than likely heading into a recession. The odds of that have gone up pretty handily right now. And which is always a precursor to rates coming down. So, as soon as that happens, rates are going to come down. Everybody's going to refinance these mortgages, and all of a sudden. The only problem with that, though, if values start to come down,
right? People are going to be stuck who overpaid.
Yeah, they may not be able to get out of the mortgage that they're in.
Yeah,
that's the only problem that I see potentially happening on the horizon. But other than that,
well, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah,
Only time will tell.
All right.
All right. Till next time.
Till next time.